Now I know why you need to wash your frying pans. Had some very good sausages yesterday, but holy hell, did my stomach explode. Oh god, that was not all it's cracked up to be. Cost of energy drinks is going up due to inflation, by the way. That's caused by the war, so it's gonna get a lot worse as soon as the spring harvest fails to come in. Then, not to even mention the summer harvest. Spring harvest may not sound like much, but to us Europeans, there's some foods you get during the spring harvest which are like rare culinary items, like spring potatoes and stuff like that, that are sought after because they taste quite different when they're spring potatoes. And there's some other foods which might be compromised during this particular war period. It's not to my liking. Still can't completely understand what Putin is going for. He's clearly not wanting China to win this one, because if the East just stays quiet and lets China build its 7% economic growth rate, then they're going to be above the US in a matter of years. So it's not a matter of building up for China to win or their side to win, which means Russia and China don't consider each other to be deeply allied, which is probably why China is so hesitant to join the war, because they know that if peace is maintained, their economic point will be better. India will eventually overtake, and then Africa will overtake, but it's decades from when China overtakes. So, if you're the world market for like 30 years, then it's India, which is right by you. You can get some very good trades from India while you're the leader, and then leverage your position as the former leader while they're in charge, and same for Africa. So, kind of feels like China isn't too happy about this war, because they could very easily just wait until like they win. So it almost feels like Russia is being an ally of the West by forcing China into the war. But you never know with these KGB guys. They're like chess players. They're 10 moves in every direction. There's also the theory. There's also the theory that Russia's dead hand has been activated and Putin was killed some years ago. So they're just acting in accordance with the dead hand doctrine, where their leader is gone and they're going to strike back and putting up a puppet there. That's why you're seeing the physical changes in him, but I don't consider it really likely. It feels like we're approaching the last stage of the liberalization reform, by the way. Back when I was campaigning for parliament 10 years ago, I made some election promises and I've been trying to see if they can actually be carried out or not. And it does point to the direction where if we go with a large liberalization, we also need a large a security apparatus because, the liberalization is going to piss off a lot of people, and it's going to be not all it's cracked up to be for some people, which might end up with terrorism. And if your plan involves the opponent going to terrorists just to oppose you, then you aren't really thinking about it all that well. But if we're just talking about, in quotes, Western liberal democracies getting the economy to win this game, then that can be done. It's looking like Scarlett will win this round. It's not certain, but it's looking somewhat in that direction. She has 200 supply with 3,500 minerals in bank, so it's probable that she'll win. Ah, that was a glorious shot. Neither side seems to have the middle bases, the top and the bottom middle. If the situation continues to get worse as it seems like it will, then I think I might have to start looking at some kind of marketing thing for my abilities or something, because it's gonna be economical hell. We were kind of afraid of it going to war ever since the Iraq War, because we said it then. If your stance on international relations is to wipe your ass with the treaties that kept the world peaceful for 80 years just because it's your turn to be attacked by the terrorists, which you were saying you need to turn the system around. So then when the other guy feels the same, they're going to attack, and our support for the defender is going to be questionable because we didn't support Iraq, even though that invasion was, according to the UN, just as wrong as this invasion, which is going to turn into the West doing the, oh my God, they're fighting in Europe. And then when the fighting is in like Iraq or the Middle East or any place like that, they're like, they're always fighting over there, which just goes to show how biased this thing is. And that's not feeling right for me. Oh, Tehran has the bottom base. It's about to be overrun. It's still a little bit in the air, but I'm still predicting a Scarlet win or Zerg win. Just I don't know. She needs to desperately destroy the bottom base because it's being used for a lot of mineral production, but I think she got it. I don't know how to feel about the end of this liberalization war. Liberalization struggle, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how to feel about it. Zerg has almost entirely mined out, so it's looking like this might actually be a Terran victory. Zerg is always mining too fast and then runs out of the minerals because they have like 100 drones. Yeah, this is gonna be a Terran victory. She was running out of her economy. Scarlett actually won.
There's no chance I was gonna win this game. No chance. I think the ghost control. I think he messed up with the ghost a little bit towards the end. I got fungled a lot of times. And I could have got EMP'd.
Gui.
It's good to win at least one game. That guy in yellow, thank you for the sub over there. Duke Nukem, thank you for the prime sub. Kung, thank you for the prime sub. Steadfast, thank you again for the raid. And Jason, thank you for the raid. I'm gonna take a quick 3-minute break, 2-minute break. I'll be back for some more games in a minute.
Okay. So yeah, it's actually showing the stream. I thought it wasn't because there was a black window last I looked at it. So we're approaching having to pick another hill to fight upon. Channel is doing okay, but could be doing better. 35 subscribers in like 3 years. It's not bad, but it's not good either. Is there anything interesting on the news? This was pretty interesting. Driver's probably dead.
Hello again. One is knowing what to do all the time. Like if you don't know what to do, then practicing mechanics. And you can do that in single player. Knowing what to do comes more from watching replays, and then practicing mechanics you can do against just AI, against AI or whatever. Or in the start of games. Like improving your usage and stuff will also help. You can use a separate thing to like train your mouse accuracy if you want. That would help a little bit. Or at the start of games when you have nothing to do, you can spam, but like not mindlessly spam. You can actually try and click stuff accurately, right? Like this. Exactly. Without, like, you don't want to do like this. Like, this is just nothing. You like those, you try and do it precisely. Can help you with your mouse control a little bit.
We'll see. This was essentially what we're seeing with technology. The modern generations aren't able to maintain the technology of the old generation, so we'll get some knights with full plate and most leather. The level of understanding in the general world is going down.
There's nothing more triggering when you open a streamer than doing this at the start of the game. It's just like you're making yourself less accurate almost. Double combos. Probably do that. Well, I got punished the other game against, they were called Killjoy SC or something. Killjoy. I don't know. Both those players taking it, so I didn't jump for the second on the boost on the game random. Took a bunch of damage to the 2 ups as a result.
I'm waiting for Democracy for version 1.49 before I'm doing what might very well be the last version of my liberalization gameplay. It's looking like it works in terms of reducing problems while increasing expenditure and income and increasing liberal choices, but it does indeed seem like you need a very up-to-date Secret Service to not be assassinated for it.
Very good for me. Very, very good. probably remake a few drones. Oh, you messed up.
It's weird. It almost looks like it's not always recording the screen, but I think it is. I'm raiding with a party of 0.
ES. Anubis? That was Anubis for a second. Thank you so much for the raid. Looks like some kind of Stargate plan. Okay, okay. I'm gonna go corruptors. Kind of what triggered it earlier.
The Protoss isn't playing his ground units well. They keep getting killed, and he isn't using the blink or whatever ability that is to get away from the attack. It's not playing very well.
So fly even. Just rolling.
Well, that wasn't very smart of the Protoss. She saw that it was going Sky Terran, and now she's completely prepared for it.
I really deserve to die like this. I don't know what that carrier attack was.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good Protoss player.
Sorry, GG. I don't know why you said sorry.
You're Canadian. You should always know when somebody says why somebody says sorry.
Thank you, Ollie SC2 for the prime. Yeah, a lot of Protoss have been trying this where you just avoid right part and play Turtle to Sky Toss like he did last patch. Except it's much weaker to corruptors than it used to be because you guys just make a bunch of voiders to defend the corruptors. Thank you, Fandra, thanks for the 4 months as well. But carrier attack was smart. Maybe if he knew I didn't have a Spire, but I had 20 corruptors on the map. And he lost 3 carriers by doing that, and then the game is instantly over.
Yeah.
You have to lose 3 carriers for a hatchery. Costs as much as like 6 hatcheries. still gonna coach pig? He's up for it, yeah, for sure. Maybe Friday or Saturday. I think he said Saturdays. Might do that for a little bit of my stream on Saturday.
Inflation is starting to hit due to the war starting to actually be a war instead of like a 3-week police operation. Inflation is starting to build. Energy drinks and the likes are getting much more expensive. 50 cent, 10 to 15 cent cost increase or something that costs in €50, €45 in 2 weeks. The change wasn't even immediate because the cost of energy is going up. Like I said earlier, if the spring harvest in Russia and Ukraine and even some parts of the east like Belarus and other parts in the what is often called the breadbasket of Europe, if those harvests fail, not to mention if they fail to get into the market, we'll see a dramatic increase in the price of food. And as models have said it before, Europe will be fine due to Europe being so rich that it can actually import its food, but a lot of places won't be.
Why do I?
When your plan relies on your opponent to be a terrorist when they're your normal voting citizens in opposition to your plan, then your plan may not be all it's cracked up to be. And the fact that we tend to see some amount of civil disturbance with this model, no matter how we do it, tends to indicate certain things. Works in terms of economy, but people are so entrenched into the benefits that they're getting and the system that they have that they are not at the moment in a mood to change it just for economic reasons.
Safe. Yeah, it's run by.
But indeed, in the final analysis, we're talking about 2, 3 to perhaps even 5% more economic growth. There are a lot of stuff that is counterintuitive. Tobacco awareness campaign and low tobacco tax. Low levels of social care, so poverty is high, and then when you increase things like tobacco tax, then you end up increasing poverty noticeably. But doing stuff like not paying for government subsidized oil drilling, but increasing government subsidies on reducing oil consumption and things like bicycles by government so that we can actually lower the oil usage and car usage and those usages while increasing people's health. There's a lot of stuff that can be done, but many of it, or much of it, depends on pissing off at least one entrenched group of people, like reducing government or state pensions to a minimum and increasing social care. The elderly folk become very upset, and the poor people who benefit from the social care don't get enough to balance it. So there's essentially the choices of whether or not to save the economy at the cost of your support rating, or let the economy be crumbled and let the next guy solve it and hope that some miraculous technology comes through that makes it work. But as I'm not in parliament, it is not my task anymore. But I do want to keep my election promises of seeing if these things can even be done. I don't feel like reneging on promises. And now I have, instead of zero models I can refer to in terms of what would happen by them, I have a couple that is actually, or are actually, like, workable. So that's what I'm seeing. Your mileage in terms of what actually happens might be different than what, say, some random simulations say, but we are looking at 2 to 5% economic growth in exchange for pissing off 90% of the voter base. With the addition that it doesn't actually increase poverty, crime, or unhealthy behavior or unemployment. But it's still, yeah. Now, well, probably once the Democracy Force latest patch appears, we'll finally see what we can do with this little boy that we've been struggling with. Not to say you guys are struggling with, but conflict is conflict. If we increase alcohol taxation to max and make the age of alcohol 16, then the total use of the alcohol will be half of what we're looking at before we increase, when we still have the alcohol risk reduction programs and such. That will have a slight increasing effect on poverty, but putting the money to Social Security that you make from the increased tobacco taxes will actually offset it. Because also the rich buy tobacco, not just the poor. But it is indeed some amount of trouble. Most countries are opposed to the selling of nationality for money, for example, even though it's about 1% of your budget in yearly increase if you make the program well. And even at 1%, you're letting at most 1% of other nationals a year into your country. Even with 0.1%, if the cost of passport or nationality is 10 years' wage, then you'll be making roughly 1% of national budget a year with the increase of 0.1% of population per year from immigration. There's a couple of those, like you can do basic maths on when it actually works and when it doesn't work. And I mean, I like the platform of the ideas, but let's be fair, if it requires the opponent to become a terrorist state, then it's not worth it. You shouldn't make changes that your opponent's only chance of resisting is to become a terrorist. That's not something I'd recommend. I'd like to do it on the latest version because there are some updates, but it's not available yet. Just the patch notes have been released, not for me anyway. So I'll probably play it a few rounds, and if it looks like I'll get assassinated or there will be some like major upheavals or something like that, then it looks like it can't be done. The Madagascar model could theoretically be used, but it had some serious downsides, so it doesn't seem likely. Also, Scarlett's probably going to lose this match. The Protoss army is too strong, and those Psionic storms were magnificently timed.
I am super dead.
Yeah, super dead.
My attack must be hitting too late. Because I felt much weaker than it should. Early game was fine.
Slept for freaking 18 hours last night. Had such great dreams. Didn't want to wake up at all. Even had that thing when you wake up and do something and go back to bed, the dream continues from the previous point.
Yeah, I should be hitting right now. Spend my money. Like this money in Ravager and Banelings, and I should attack as soon as Banelings speed is done. The Evo can be faster, just don't even make the Evo. Elaser today was doing this even without an Evo. Yeah, the attack was just... Say I attacked when Banelings speed was done. If you have... 3 disruptors. 2 Archons. And let's see what he had when I attacked. I have a little bit more, but like, it's not comparable. But there's probably a lot more gateway units. Also, this Baneley attack was mistimed.
So we'll see.
66 drone timing? Yeah, exactly. Nellis 187, thank you for the sub. What's my camera controls? Do you think you can hear out my mouse? I use middle click for moving the camera, but for camera locations it's F1, F2, F3, F4. But I'm injecting at the same time a lot of the time, so if you hear my mouse click, then that's why.
Berlingrad.
Emblem clem. Hard opponent. Maybe I'll try proxy hatching him again. Got him with it at IEM. Got him again on ladder. Let's go for a 13. He'll know how to defend it by now, though. I was supposed to send an earlier drone.
So yeah, this liberalization agenda that we're talking about is about 2 to 5% of the GDP
Oh, fine. This is quite fun.
budget, I think. So it's not much, but if China's growth is 7 to 9% and West is 3-4%, then it might be enough. But unlikely to be implemented with the way things are run. Though the fact that the US is more or less liberalizing cannabis and ending the cannabis war is a bounty for them, but it's not the same. They're doing something there.
Planning on watching anytime soon. So who knows?
You probably watched the latest episodes of Picard. Haven't watched them yet.
Like the Ravager suck first ones. It's the best units you can make against Protoss generally until late game. Who knows what's up? You learn not to cancel the country at least. I'm gonna go for a more committed version this time. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, it's fine. I didn't commit the last times I did this against him. So, might not take it super seriously, and I can commit harder this time. I'll go with 6 Ravagers. Oh, that's enough.
Looks like the Terran lost that one early.
Not transfusing on creep actually came into effect there. Completely forgot about that. Not being able to transfuse on creep. I mean. dead though. Try again. Scoring now. Too many tanks.
Haven't picked out my next struggle after this one though. Don't know what I'll focus on.
He knows how to defend this now. No more using it against Clem. In IEM, you just cancel the natural, which is a much sketchier way, but yeah, you can just build a bunker if you scout with the SCV. If you don't SCV scout, it's much harder for the turn though. They can still defend, but it's harder.
Hatred is costing us 3% a year. And that's even before the Ukraine war.
The SCV scout that game? Yes. Time tells me I have to get well, you don't have to, but it's pretty hard to defend big pushes. You don't make moves. Then if they get a tank position here, you just can't win the game basically. But with roaches, it's much easier. Just gotta get something done with them.
So 3%. A year.
Aren't roaches good risk turn through and stuff? I mean, they can defend. And if they defend, they're ahead. It's not impossible. It's stronger than other maps, but at the same time, they're expecting it.
Oh,
And if they're
hi,
expecting
Ocelot.
it, they can play safer.
Uh,
By making playing more defensive.
no, the war that limits our rights to do the shit that we want to do is about
But
2
yeah,
or
you can force them
3%
to play more defensive and then go.
of economic growth a year. What we get from worldwide weed sale, worldwide stoppage of not being able to drink alcohol anywhere and not being able to smoke tobacco anywhere and shit like that. Like there's a tobacco risk reduction program while there's a low tobacco tax and shit like that. So if we like optimize this system, we're looking at 2 or 3% more economic growth a year. So when here liberals don't understand economics, you can tell them that it's about 2 to 5% of the world or your country's economic growth rate a year in those reforms that you refuse to do because socialism bad and liberalism bad. Considering China is about 3 to 5% ahead in economic growth, that's why you're losing to China, you motherfucking incest-ridden asshole. And that's not a reference on incest, that's on assholes. Is those little fish?
Really hunting for food too much. I'll use the light a bit.
Well, the English student password is that like. Oh my. Made an election promise about 10 years ago to see what I'm actually talking about here, so we can have some data on what it means to do this liberalization, and just started to make some toast. So it looks like after all is said and done that it's about 2 to 5%. That's if we do it. How's the migraine? Is it still vomity bad for like a week? You thought about having a stroke?
Oh, he's saying about red is very, very
Can't
bad.
recommend having one, but you know.
Very, very fast. Too much of that drop.
Rye bread, butter, cheese, and a slice of ham. And it's about to jump out of the
Not
thingy.
there for that. Save up some transfuses. Some lanes. Run this over.
Feels weird letting go of something that you fought for 10 years. But it's in other people's hands now, and I know what I'll be getting from myself from it. Looks like this. Oh, sorry, the camera is not even on. Here's ham sandwich. But when you make an election promise, you gotta keep that shit.
That went quite well. Lots of cream.
Word of advice, never fry food in old fat because you'll get such a stomach ache that it's out of this world.
Tax plus 1+1.
That with liberalizing things like the drug market, we could save the economy. No, I have the data to prove it true.
File usage is quite more there. Transfuse change actually has some noticeable effects there. Transfuse.
Better to make things taxed and expensive than illegal and the money to the dark market. Sounds wrong, but there it is.
Blue flame. What is this?
Drugs, alcohol, tobacco are all about 1 billion. And changing the subsidies for oil and going towards public transport is about 3 billion in profit after the downside has been counted out. For Canada.
Oh, what? This is Mac? Late Mac?
1 billion Canadian dollars for Canada. For Finland, it's about 300 million each. For US, it would be 5 to 15 billion each.
Seems strange why I got on this one. Seems like the worst map to play late Mac on.
I'm gonna play the Democracy 4 gameplay at some point, possibly today or tomorrow, and you can check it out to see the actual data on what things work for. I chose Canada because its basic economy is quite good. So it's not a matter of running like mad to get the economy working, but rather when the situation is already like pretty good, how much can you squeeze extra out of it? I keep running into the problem that the groups that I have to take money away from, like the pensioners, end up murdering me. They are so entrenched in their rights that when you tell them that you need to remove those rights to give the population a chance of surviving, they end up murdering you. And some countries tried our reform on a very loose basis, like Kazakhstan, and all they had to do was mention that they're increasing the cost of oil, and it essentially led to a revolution in a day. So we know that popular opposition will be so hard that actually doing it is not the thing. Yeah. So it comes down to what I knew it was going to come down to. People are going to prefer to die poor of their own making than rich of somebody else's making. That's what it looks like. In other words, rather die poor in a state that works like you want it to work than rich in a state that doesn't work like you want it to work. Which is almost exactly what I was looking at. Yeah, that wasn't a great success. They were raising the price of oil by 10 cents from like 15 cents to 25 cents, and the population revolted. It seems like most of these people are so entrenched on government bad and always doing bad things that there's no negotiation. They're so entrenched in the paranoid mindset that government never does anything good or even tries to do good, that whenever they like increase taxes or do something, they are ready to revolt. Yeah. The conservatives talk a lot about how we're empowering China, but when you mention that you can make 5% economic growth by liberalizing drugs and alcohol and tobacco, then they tell you that that would be bad because China needs to be conquered with weapons. You know what I mean? Which is why I like my little tool on the top right here. My little phone. You guys can set up your meetings in Switzerland and talk on the phone. I'll use this little thing here.
Oh, I killed my spawning tool. Nice. With my viper.
Yeah. either you let China do the economic growth and they win, and then you have to fight with them tooth and nail to keep your independence, or you go with the liberal route, which China cannot take, and defeat them economically that way. But going the liberal route pisses off the fact that most of the West is hardcore Christian conservative, even though they don't say it. Even getting stuff like people having the right to do transgender surgeries, speaking of Scarlett here, while getting everybody's like genitals mutilated at birth because some Christian god said so like 5,000 years ago is anathema to them. It is completely normal to cut unwilling babies' penises, but so help you God if somebody wants to identify as an attack helicopter. Like I said, this isn't my thing. Yeah, a lot of people would, but it seems like the conservatives are taking us to war. Seems like China is smart enough to play chess around Biden and stay out of this war. I made some predictions a couple of years ago that China might join the war, but it seems unlikely unless the West is truly losing the physical struggle. And while we're 500 miles from Moscow and 10,000 miles from Washington, that seems rather unlikely. If it's 500 miles from Washington and 10,000 to Moscow, then they might join just to share the spoils, but they won't join, I think, until the war is pretty much decided. That's what it feels like. That's what you get with state capitalism when the entire government and society is geared just to make money for everyone. That's what you get with state capitalism. But state capitalism doesn't work in end-scale societies, so it's good for starters, but it's not so good for the long game. But yeah, seems like this one will be decided by the war machinery because it seems like the hardcore people not wanting to give anybody any rights are on so much an entrenched position on both sides that it's going to end up being a bloodbath. Then one side randomly wins due to some military technical thing somewhere and declares that that's why their thought was superior. It's like watching a grand scheme game of people beating each other over the head, and then when the guy wins, he's like, "I'm smarter. My head is stronger." That's what it sounds like. Yeah. Gonna be watching some of my own art in a while just for funsies, but I'm watching Scarlett for now. Yeah, Scarlett's gonna lose this one, I think.
Both sides same. Or good luck, they're just bad.
How are you liking the Discord room that I made? I think it's about time that I have my own room there. So that I don't have to like populate everybody else's timelines. I have like 20 matches left for the entire night. God.
How do we read ghosts, guys? How do we beat ghosts?
Yeah, that.
My army was twice the army value. Lost pretty badly.
Why do the French only order one egg? Because one egg is
Testers
enough.
are only good against ghosts if they have no
Indian
variation.
face French for one egg.
Because the MP has more range than fungal. And snipe. That's also more range. But like they can't, of course, channel snipe.
One egg is enough.
Fungal, but
One egg is
the MP has
enough.
more range than fungal does.
Yeah. Fucking 5%. If I was wasting like, make about 20 grand a year. If I was wasting that much, then.
Like you can't just.
No.
Maybe you have to bring overlords to drop creeps so they can transfuse. But you can't just pull your queens anymore.
Why do the French only have one egg for breakfast? Because one egg is enough.
At the one fight, yeah. Why do you get the second Spire, Rico, with against Terran? Do you think the armor is actually useful? Arcani for the prime sub. You plan to play late game? What's it for? Like, Liberators? I don't think you win late game though, right? Like, the Terran army is better than yours if you just sit there. You can never trade even against ghosts, I don't think. If the Terran's really good. So making double Spire, like the second armor is the second one for the armor upgrade. Unless you think with perfect micro you can trade evenly with the
Leah.
ghosts.
Yep. CJ's here.
Which I'm not convinced.
Okay. You want to hear a joke?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. You know why they only eat one egg for breakfast in France? Why? Because in France, one egg is enough. Okay, CJ's here. Okay.
Okay. It's my start to politics. One egg is enough. Oh, lame. Very lame.
You think you can get even
But
trade?
at least I'm Christian, because lame will inherit
But
the
they have more
earth.
range with everything.
Lame.
Thors have more range than Blue Lords. They've nuked to like get you off position. So say they nuke your spores. Like they set up in front of your base and they nuke your position. How do you hurt the base? You don't have to lose anything, but you lose ground.
God. 1,
And then their
11,
army also has
11.
more range than you. So. Like I don't know how you trade it. Thor, Liberator, Ghost, Tank. Turrets and
One
stuff.
egg is enough. Margaret has a lot of other funny things.
Upgraded links? Ghost 2-shot links, I don't know what you're talking about.
What you talking about, Willis? Well, that was exactly what I was looking for.
It's not like High Templar auto attack damage. They do like 20 damage, 25 damage a shot with their auto attack.
I need to stop keeping my keyboard on top of the laptop. It's overheating like crazy. So gonna crash and burn, catch on fire. Yes, I would like to wait. Oh, it's sprouted.
Where am I?
It's very tiny, but it's sprouted. West Wing. Can't show it now, but it indeed sprouted.
Okay. Gotta stay at home.
There's one I can't trim because it seems like it
Can I
grows
say
in 3
something,
months.
for the future?
Yeah.
I can sign the president's name. I have his signature down pretty good.
You can sign the president's name?
Yeah.
On a document removing him from power and handing it to someone else?
Yeah. Or do you think the White House counsel would say that was a bad idea?
I think the White House counsel would say that's a coup d'etat.
I'd probably end up doing some time for that.
I would think.
I would think.
What the hell are you doing practicing the president's signature?
It's just for fun.
We've got separation of powers, checks and balances, and Margaret vetoing things and sending them back to the hill.
Well, it could be, but not really.
I've got the president's signature. Funny show. Taught me so much about politics. Most of it, of course, false because it's Hollywood, but at least it taught me something. On the top right here, you will see Switzerland agreeing with United Kingdom. Yep. Your culture, Westerners, they teach us much in the mountains. Of course, all wrong, but still, we appreciate your culture. The way we speak with Russian accent, we learn. I think they'd call that a coup d'etat. Me making these models. Let's try it for Kazakhstan. I think they're calling that a coup. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Russians rolling. God damn it. They're always on to me. You know, this conquest of Finland was very good. Now we know all the secrets. All we have to do is follow the Finns around. Ooh. Our horses are under a stable. When you take horses from barn and let them run around, your horses are unstable. Yeah, that's a pretty stupid joke. La, pala, si voilà. Box by the door. Left, right, box by the door. Where is chat bar? Is it here? Well, nobody laughed at my funny joke. I'm disappointed. Scarlett, you need to get a better audience. Yeah, she's funny. A little bit weird. Ah, yes, computer working so fine. It's not lagging at all. What do you say? God damn it.
What am I doing today? Playing like an ape.
Oh. Russian gas, as in gas Hundheit. Oh god, she's making swarm loads. Swarm loads. She's gonna lose this one. She always loses near without failure when she makes swarm loads. Swarm lords loads. Diabetics, which means to your health. I think. Pro set. Noob set. Somewhat good, but still not professional set. I imagine half the US Senate sitting down. Thinking that I could make a couple of more videos, but I've been doing good with them. It's much better that I'm doing lives on one side of the channel and show videos on the other. There's like 4 episodes of my Master in Finland gameplay. I'm done with that game until they make a patch because there's so many problems with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun playing. Points even a little rudimentarily, but points in the same direction. At about, it's about 2 to 5% economic growth. That's what we're looking at. Yeah, I need to play many different simulators and things to get to right, and I need to make sure that not all my videos are on the same page because it's easier to, go through them without having to click through a million gameplay videos to get to the art videos. Which makes me think I ought to delete my normal gameplay videos and stuff that isn't art because it doesn't chime with my channel. I guess you get like lines of basically custom made videos like this, and then there's like 5 pages of 1 hour clips because my recording program couldn't do more than an hour, and there's a lot of them, and it's not very good for my channel. Exactly. Man, I could go for some weed. I'm gonna place my keyboard on the side here so it doesn't overheat the computer. Yeah, I'll let everybody know. Oh, it's hot enough to fry a freaking egg.
Oh, no. Back. Play better. Honestly, not it. In a minute.
With the midnight hour, she got another species of fanatic purifiers. Turns out a lot of these lollies turn into fanatic purifiers if you spend any time with them. They pick up on your dark humor.